All right, guys. So I'm up here in Big Bear. As you guys can see, the background's a little bit different than what it normally is. Um, but I really struggled with whether or not I wanted to put this video out. Um, it's something that's very important to me. It's something that was very life changing for me, um, and it's something that at the same time I think hopefully can help some people uh, achieve their goals and just be happier and better and not just get to their fitness goals but also get to whatever other goals they might have. 2 years ago today, many of you guys have heard the story already, and to be honest, I'm not going to go that far into depth on it. I still have quite an emotional attachment to this, but 2 years ago today, I nearly drowned trying to save somebody from drowning themselves. Um, And within this story, there really is the key to people's overall success. Um, the story really started off. I was came up here to go fishing with a friend and neighbor of mine. He's a bartender, and he had to leave and left to go to work around 9 or 10, and left me behind here to spend the rest of the weekend on my own. And I was out walking my dog, who's about to enter into the frame here, and somebody was in the middle of the lake and was in a raft and had fallen out of the raft and didn't have a life vest. Um, this What had happened next was something that really kind of changed the way I view myself, my mind, the way I process things. I know most of you guys have heard this story. I'm not going to go in that far depth, like I said, but the one thing I'll say is that not a single part of me wanted to go in the water that day. In fact, the first thing I thought was, oh, I'm going to sit and watch this guy drown because there's no way possible he could swim that far. And before I knew it, I was taking my shirt off. I was taking my shoes off. And I was telling myself, wait, why are you doing this? What is going on? And it was as if somebody had taken over my mind and decided that no matter what I was thinking, that I was going in the water that day. For those of you guys who've ever been in any type of extreme situation like this, you know that there's it's called the dilation of time. It's where you kind of completely lose track of time, and if anything, you're in a situation where it could seem like I have no idea how long I was in the water, but the one thing that happened was it seemed like less than a second, and all of a sudden I was in the middle of the lake, pulling some random stranger back up to the surface of the water. And it hit me at that point, how the hell did I get here? What the hell happened? I am in the worst possible position. I'm freezing to death, and I have farther to swim than I've ever swam before in my life, and I have to make sure that this person is able to make it back on his own, or make it back with me. We did make it back. There were some rather quite interesting events along the way on the way back. It took a very long time to get back, and like I said, it was very cold. Maybe the distance wasn't as big of an issue as the temperature was. I was later told that the lake was 43 degrees, and I got back to shore and on numerous occasions almost drowned myself. Especially somebody had swam out and basically taken this person from me and brought them ashore. And at that point, I immediately started drowning. And I did make it back to shore on my own. When I got there, the paramedics were there, and I told them, look, I really just need to catch my breath, and please, just leave me alone. I'll be okay. I just need to catch my breath and heat myself up a bit. And at that point, they'd shave my chest down and they, pulled my pants off and all sorts of fun stuff. And they basically told me, look, you're not going to catch your breath. Like, what's happening to you right now is you're dying. And so we went to the hospital, spent the rest of the day at the hospital, and they had put heat lamps on me and whatnot, and my heart rate was outrageously high, nearly twice as high as your heart rate ever should get. I got back from the hospital and I felt like I'd recovered until I tried to sleep that night, and that wasn't going to be an option for me for quite a while. And I had once I got out of the water, I was just grateful to get out of the water, and I didn't realize at that point that really was just the beginning for me. I went through a long period of time where I suffered from flashbacks, I suffered from all sorts of issues with this, and I called friends of mine that had experienced things like this, people who were in the military, people who had just experienced trauma, and got their advice. I'm a reader. I research things, so I started reading as much as I could on how to fix my brain, because for some reason my brain just seemed like it stopped working. I was very distant from everything and everybody. I felt like I was in a fog, and I remember a situation where I went to Chipotle, and I was standing in line at Chipotle, and after a short period of time, I'd realize, oh wow, I have no idea where I'm at right now, and I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. Like I said, I am a reader, and I've done a lot of work on things like this before in my past, and I just started fly fishing, and that was actually a saving grace for me. It really was. Just the concept, that meditative process of casting and staring at a fly as it floats down the stream, and it allowed me enough concentration as to where the flashbacks didn't happen. I would meditate every day for hours every day. I journal to figure out what it was that I was experiencing, what was happening inside of me. And I did a lot of work with just trying to get past this. And I was at a point where I remember I had gone into work, and I'd had a full-blown nervous breakdown at work. And I just went into work to go get my schedule and make sure that people knew that I wasn't going to be in. Excuse me. And I was at a point where I was wondering, is my brain ever going to be any better? Am I ever going to be able to get past this? I obviously did, and I was able to return back to work. But I had to do a lot of work on myself to get to that point. I met with a therapist, and one of the things I told the therapist, she said, well, this is your story. What do you want to get out of this? And I said, I realized completely that being the same person I was prior to this happening is no longer an option. I just really want to be in the driver's seat as to who I become after this event, after this happened. And to me, the biggest struggle that I had with this wasn't as much as having to fear death, having to question whether or not it's going to hurt to die. I thought I was going to die that day. In fact, there was numerous situations in which I was very close to death. And in fact, um, even after I thought everything was over, the paramedic said, no, 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 you were in the process of dying right now. You need to get to the hospital and get taken care of. After I got back from the hospital, and I spent 6 or 7 hours in the hospital, the ER doctor said, I just want to make sure that you realize that what you decided to do today took years off of your life, and you're probably going to wind up suffering from heart problems for the rest of your life. So don't think this is over. This is really just the beginning. And that to me wasn't even the scary part. And I did go to the doctor, and the doctor said, my general practitioner, she said, don't worry, you're in good enough shape as to where your heart can handle something like this. But really that wasn't the issue. The issue to me was that a part of my brain took over that I wasn't aware of, and that that completely took over my ability to make decisions. And I never decided to do that. And that was one of the biggest struggles that I had, was that was never a decision of mine to go in and jump in freezing cold water in order to help somebody else out. That was something that was happening at a part of my brain that I did not have conscious awareness of. In fact, the one thing I realized was that even though my conscious mind was saying, stop, 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 what are you doing? You're going to kill us. You're going to kill me, should I say. Stop. There was something that still drove me to go. After I was able to work through all this, and I'd spent 2 weeks straight for, from 6 o'clock in the morning, I take off and I do a quick meditation in the morning. I journal a bit before I left, and then I go fly fishing. I fly fish for probably 10 hours. I'd work on breathing techniques as I did this, just to keep my anxiety down. I would come home, I'd allow these flashbacks to occur, and I tried my best to suppress those flashbacks throughout the day, and then when I got home, I'd allow them to occur. I'd journal on how they varied from time to time, and how they were progressing, what my emotions were around this, what my thoughts were around this. And it took a lot of work for me to get past that. And when I say a lot of work, I mean a lot of work. It really did. It was 15, 16, 17 hours a day, and sometimes even more. And a lot of it was me reading, trying to figure out how the heck to make this work, how the heck I was going to get my brain back, how the heck I was going to fix myself from this event. But an interesting thing happened once I came out the other end, which was that I had started losing weight. In fact, that was the leanest I'd ever been in my life. Not directly after, but shortly after. And it wasn't coming from a place of anger. It wasn't coming from a place of dissatisfaction. It wasn't coming from places that before, when I'd achieved goals, I really hadn't even set a goal for this. I wasn't looking to lose weight. I wasn't looking to be somebody different. It was just a byproduct of this. And in past times when I said, you know what, I'm going to lose some weight, I'm going to lean out, I'm going to get stronger, I'm going to get more fit, I'm going to get whatever my goals might have been, it was coming from this place of looking in the mirror and being unhappy with who I was. It came from this place of being, going, gosh, you know what, I just feel horrible. I don't like the way my clothes fit. I don't like the way people look at me. I don't like whatever it might be. And that dissatisfaction with who I am drove me to try to set a goal and try to become better at that. I see everybody else do the same thing, and it really is an interesting phenomenon. But it wasn't just that I was losing weight. It was also that was the happiest I'd ever been in my life in 40 some odd years. I'd yet to experience that type of happiness, that type of that feeling of being satisfied, of being content, of being happy. My days were joyful. And it wasn't just the idea that I was happy that I was alive, because that really wasn't it. And that really never even crossed my mind. And as I went back, and one of the reasons why I come back up here to Big Bear is to reevaluate what I've experienced over the last year, over the last however long since it's been, 2 years now. Exactly 2 years now. And what I came to realize was that the reason why I had lost that weight, the reason why I was so happy, was because I'd spent all this time meditating. I'd spent all this time doing breath work. I spent all this time journaling. I spent all this time working on myself. In psychology, in sports psychology, they teach you that 93% of all thoughts occur on a subconscious level. For those people that never reach their performance goals that they want to achieve, whether it be to make it to professional sports, whatever it might be, what they find is that people sabotage themselves. And the reason why is part of that 93% of that subconscious mind says you're not good enough for this. It says that you're not worthy of this. Whatever it might be, it's this self-image that they have of themselves that eventually overcomes that 7% of their brain that is conscious and that they're aware of. And that's one of the things that I came to realize that I'd been doing up to that point, and that I see every one of my clients, and I see virtually everybody that sets goals do, is that they go, you know what, I'm going to take the 7% of my brain that I'm aware of, that I'm conscious of, and I'm going to wage war on that 93% of my brain that I'm not conscious of. And to me, that is the equivalent. It's like the story of the 300 Spartan warriors versus the Persian army. It is a heroic story, very valiant effort put in, but those 300 soldiers, warriors, they die 100% of the time. They were never going to win that war. They were outnumbered too drastically. Just like that 93% of your mind that is subconscious versus that 7% of your mind that is conscious. You might be able to hold off that Persian army for a little while, but eventually it's going to come cascading in. And those goals that you set, even if you go through and you achieve it for a little while, over time, those goals end up getting washed away because that subconscious mind goes, this is not who we are. You're going to go out to the middle of that lake, even though you don't want to. In meditation, one of the things that they teach you is that one of the things around meditation is learning how to quiet your conscious mind in order to allow that subconscious mind to come through, to talk to you, to tell you what you need to know. And that's why, to me, that combination of meditation and journaling reunites that conscious mind and that subconscious mind together in order to make sure that you're unifying every part of your brain is heading in that same direction toward the person that you want to become. In neurolinguistic programming, one of the things that they teach you, one of the things that stuck out for me, was that all unhappiness that is not caused by someone coming and kicking you in the shin is caused by this dissonance between your conscious and your subconscious mind. Your conscious mind wants to go this way, your subconscious mind wants to go this way, and you guys are battling it out, and that creates unhappiness. To me, today, this trip that I've taken back up to Big Bear to reevaluate everything that I've learned, everything that I've experienced over the last 2 years, one of the things I found is with the virus, I started gaining weight back. I started becoming less happy again. And this has been a trip for me that's been interesting because I've been spending a bunch of time drinking. And just like probably most people, I drink way more than I ever have before in my life, just about, because of that fear, that unhappiness. And I've spent the last couple days, really this trip has been, to me, it's been about, spending that time meditating again, spending that time journaling again. I go out hiking again, and just try to really pay attention to my mind and try to just empty my mind. I work on my breathing techniques. I do everything I can to access that subconscious mind, to reunite that mind together, to take me to where I want to be. I think a lot of times people, they don't like meditating because they're afraid of what they're going to find. They don't like journaling because they're afraid of what they're going to find. But the biggest thing that you're going to find is happiness, is joy, is a feeling of contentment with who you are. And it does take time and it takes practice, and people would much rather just go, you know what, Mark, we need to go work out because I have 100,000 Persian soldiers that I need to go out and kill. Let's get to it. You go, well, are we sure we want to wage this battle? Because you're going to lose. This day, 2 years ago today, was both the worst day of my life and the best day of my life. This day gave me a different perspective on life that I would live over 1,000 times over again in order to maintain this perspective. For me, now the emotional response that I get from this day isn't about the trauma. It's about how valuable it is to me. And I know I've told this story to a lot of you guys before, and I leave out a lot of parts because it is very emotional to me. But even more than that is what I've been trying to figure out over the last 2 years is how to communicate this to people in a way that makes sense to them and allows them the opportunity to see those same benefits that I saw from that day without having to go through that themselves. Like I said, this is a day that I can never forget. It's not an option for me to forget at this point. But what I've taken out of this benefits me more than any workout I've ever done, any cardio I've ever done, any whatever it might be, any quality nutrition I've ever done, any quality meal that I've ever eaten, whatever you want to call it. To me, once we get your conscious and your subconscious mind all aligned to say, this is the person that we're going to be. And it doesn't just pertain to fitness. It could pertain to anything in your life, whether it be the father or the mother that you want to be, whether it be the wife or the husband that you want to be, whether it be the professional at work that you want to be. By utilizing this, you have the opportunity to become that person that you want to be. I'm still on that journey myself. I would hope that you guys would want to take that journey and go through that process of learning to meditate, learning to do your breath work, learning to journal, learning how to discover, I hate to say who you are, but what that subconscious mind is trying to tell you. Because I know for me, it was telling me something different than what I wanted to hear. And I know for me, it wasn't exactly congruent with what my conscious mind wanted. And I'm going to leave a link to one of my favorite books. It's by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Lonnie Bossom. It's called With Winning in Mind. He goes through and he explains this concept of your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and your self-image, and how his program is designed to utilize your conscious mind to program a self-image, to create a self-image, and then allow that subconscious mind to fulfill that self-image. But the one thing I'll tell you about that is that it takes work. But the nice thing about this work is your subconscious mind, the best way that I've heard it explained is that it is like this operating system that's working in the background 24/7. If it's working against you, you're going to overeat, you're going to miss workouts, you're going to hate your workouts, you're going to, whatever it might be, you're going to sabotage yourself. One thing I'll tell you is I never put forth an effort to try to lose weight. I never put forth an effort to try to lean out. I never put forth an effort to change. That change occurred naturally. And the amount of effort that I put in through the meditation, through the journaling, through the breath work, through fly fishing, those things are really, it was like that operating system said, you know what, we understand who you want to be now. Let's become that person. Okay? I'll leave that link for you guys in the notes behind this. And if you guys want to read it, I would highly suggest it. I am a reader, so I always like learning as much as I can. The world of sports performance heavily applies to what we're doing here in the fitness industry too as well. And those same concepts apply to everything else you do in life. Okay? All right, guys. I do hope this helps you. This is something very meaningful to me. I struggle with the idea of telling the story because I still have a strong emotional response to the story. And I don't want to be seen as the person that's telling the story because I want to be seen as this hero that did this amazing thing. And that's not what it's about because, quite frankly, I never made that decision myself. It was just something that happened. I look at this as more something that happened to me that I was able to pull something extremely valuable out of. All right, guys. I hope that helps. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.